it's called Patpong, why these two streets are called Patpong, how it all started and what it is now. So in the museum we have everything about history, hunting, some gossip, we talk about Vietnam War, CIA, and then superstars when coming to Bangkok that were inspired by some people and made movies. So we'll be talking about many things. At the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th, so we're saying the end of 1800 and the beginning of 1900. When the Chinese Empire is starting to just crumble and the Siam Kingdom was starting to rise. In fact, at that time, at the beginning of 1900, in 1901, 1902, there was a big amount of Chinese people trying to leave China and come to find some luck here in not Thailand, at that time Siam, right? And the story starts with one of these Chinese immigrants that at the age of 13, he just comes to Thailand from the island of Hainan on a dragon boat coming to Bangkok, and then he starts working at the market of Bangkok, starting trading, especially rice. In the years that he lived in Thailand, so with this trading, and he also was going down to the provinces to buy the rice to sell it to the market. And one time, going down the Saraburi province, he found out that in the ground, well, the production of rice compared to the size of the field was not, the field was so big, but the rice production was very low. So he found out that in the ground, in the earth, there was some white substance, which was silica, calcite, which is the main ingredient for cement. At that time, of course, King Chulalongkorn was, they owned the CM Cement Company and was starting to just produce cement to make, Siam industrialized, so with streets, buildings, and stuff like this. So this discovery helped out a lot the king, and because of this reason, and also because in 40 years that he'd been living in Thailand anyway, he set up a family, he married with a Thai woman, got 7 children, and he already was an affirmed merchant, and also helped the community around him. After 40 years that he'd been living in Thailand, then we will see that this gentleman here, that the original name was Tumpu, was bestowed the title of Luang, and then was given a name, Patpong Panik, by King Rama VII in 1946. So that's how Patpong started, because it comes from the name of a person. And especially this guy is the first one, and he set up his dynasty here in Thailand. Here we have a few items, like we've got maps and other artifacts. Some of them are interactive, so if the people come inside, they can also, with some of them, can play with them. Like here we have a rice coolie, if people want to try to see how heavy it was at that time to carry the rice, or just a few people already that they just take the picture, they make the selfie. Or we got other items that maybe you can open it up and people can take a peek. This is some photography from the 1900s. It is funny to know that at the time of Chulalongkorn, I think all the dancers were topless. It was just after that when it started changing all the way around. It was probably I think, around before Chulalongkorn, basically. The dancers were topless. Then with Chulalongkorn, then they start being covered. But otherwise, in the early 1800 or in the 90s, let's see the map of Bangkok. At the beginning, this was the same kind of mapping up until the first years of the 1900s. It was only this area where it was the palace and then the religious center, which was all concentrated here. As you can see here, this is the horse track. but there was no Lumpini Park, and what it is Patpong now, it was all fields. And in fact, as you can see in this little model here, what is now Patpong 1 and Patpong 2 was a kind of a banana plantation with a teak house in the middle that during the war was used by the army, Japanese soldiers, as an office. As I was saying, when he was bestowed the title of Luang Patpong Company, also in 1946, he also managed to buy this piece of land from the king for the amount of $3,000, where he wanted to set up his family residence. It was not him that developed this piece of land, because he died anyway in 1950, Patpong died, but it was one of his sons. Here we got some documentation, got a funeral book, and we constructed this, we built this kind of family tree, the 7 children. This lady here is still alive, so sometimes you see her coming around, you know, Patpong. But it was this guy here, Udon Patpong, that brought, let's say, Patpong to become the business center district of Bangkok in the early, well, at the beginning of the 1950s. Once again, this other mapping, this wallpaper, I just reproduced this map here. In the 1930s, you can see like a Bangkok. Of course, they didn't have the BTS, but they had at least 11 tram lines. One of them was the Silom line here. As you can see, there was no Sukhumvit, there was just Blanchard here, and then the Silom line was running to Pratunam, where you get at the pier when you get on the boat to get down, to come to the, at that time, still center of Bangkok. Would you like to follow me into this room instead? It's here where we start talking about the development of Patpong from the banana plantation field into basically the center of business in Bangkok on itself. In this kind of in this signage, we just explain a little bit about Udon Patpong. He was sent to England first, but then when the Second World War started, of course, England, Japan, then he had to move down to study to America, where he started studying economics. And at the same time, he was trained by the CIA, together with some other Thai people, to be part of the City Thai, which was basically the resistance group that was supposed to fight against the Japanese during the World War II. The thing was that when he came to Thailand, it was already 1946 and the war was over. So he didn't have to fight anymore, but at least he could use his Western business acumen, and also like together with the Chinese way of trading, put together to start building up a kind of a business empire. In fact, since he came back, he started cutting through this piece of land, cutting through streets, which are now Patpong 1 and Patpong 2, to increase the traffic between Silom and Suliwong, and then started to invite all the people that he had met in America to come and rent here. In fact, we started getting loads of offices set up from oil companies, international press, and many American airlines, civil and military. As well, together with this, for instance, this very building were offices for the IBM, and of course, together with all this, he also invited his CIA friends. And in fact, CIA started setting up offices down here in Patpong. Tried to set up his desk. We had a look at a picture of his desk, and we tried to reproduce it. Here, as you can see all the way around, you will see the dragon going all the way through the museum, and I will explain to you why there is this red dragon going around. We have this kind of interactive, you can just scan the QR code and you can also have a look at these artifacts. This is the Bangkok by week. These were weekly magazines about Bangkok. The Bangkok Bulletin, 1960. This is 1957. And they were of course showing what it was Bangkok at that time. And mainly most of the Bangkok Bulletin and Bangkok by week, they were showing what it was there around Patpong, because Patpong already around the 50s has already become the center of everything, where now all the Western offices were set up. Then of course there were bars, restaurants and nightlife. One restaurant worth of note is Misu's Kitchen. I think for people that have been living in Patpong here for years, maybe growing up here, they would know Misu's Kitchen is the first restaurant in Patpong and was opened in 1950 by an ex-Japanese soldier that after the war went back to Japan but was granted the return back here because he wanted to come back to Thailand, provided that he opened a restaurant. And that was the first restaurant in Patpong. And it's been open since 1950 up until 3 months ago. We managed actually to save this sign from outside the restaurant, and we are showing it here. Many people that live here, for even expats that live here, they all know Misu's Kitchen. This is also a section where we show that Secret Services, American Secret Services officers. This is a picture in from 1969 where Madrid bar opened. After work they go and have a few drinks in the bars and of course have fun. As well, this is Max's Lounge. And at that time, we're talking, this is 1963. As you can see, there is a young Marlon Brando coming to Thailand to shoot the movie The Ugly American. And as you can see in the picture, you can see Coca-Cola as well, so there was also the introduction of Coca-Cola. Speaking of CIA setting up their offices here, they used to have also a safe house behind it at the Madrid apartment in the Patpong 1. I don't know if you are familiar with Madrid's apartment, Patpong 1? No.
It's the Triple M Hotel or something now, or Double M or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Like it just basically there is Madrid and there is a little street.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's a short-time hotel now.
Yeah, now yes, yeah. And it used to be a safe house for the CIA. Then, speaking of which, CIA, of course, once they got set up their offices around here, we're already in the 60s, they start to prepare for the Vietnam War. So they start even influencing the local press, like this magazine, Phai Yen, where they try to depict the communists as the bad people, maybe trying to come to Thailand and enslave the villagers. So that they kind of have influence on the locals, just to put them against the
propaganda.
Yes, yeah, they do anti-communist propaganda. Yes, and as well they start to prepare for the Vietnam War. So we got some documentation here. We will have to display. We will display even more because since we open now, more people start bringing us artifacts or documents about the 50s, the 60s, the 70s that we will display as well. Then they start creating missions to Laos. There are some reports here like flight plans and also reports saying that some pilots are smuggling drugs to Laos, but well, for all people that study history at the time, they all knew that anyway it was the US government trying to support like this, and probably finance the Vietnam War with the money made by smuggling drugs. When I was talking about many offices about airlines moving here, yeah, the main ones was Air America, which was very well known, pretty owned by the US government, and also civil air transport as well. And we're going to be talking about some of these people, these pilots and Marines that were going down to Vietnam and fight for the war. One of them is Tony Po. I will explain to you why we will be talking about him. These are real people that then inspired also some famous movies. Tony Po, for instance, this is a picture where it was taken at the offices in Patpong for Air America, so it's a civilian airline, and the CIA. So of course, if you put 2 and 2 together, you know that, like, you know, they were planning to smuggle weapons and drugs to Laos and Vietnam. We can move down to this section here, where we dedicated this section to basing to the life of Tony Po, also, like, you know, inspired Francis Ford Coppola for his famous movie Apocalypse Now, which is a movie that even the young generation, they know because it's a classic. And in fact, Tony Po inspired Francis Ford Coppola to create the character of Colonel Kurtz, which was the main character in this movie. He was at the beginning working for the CIA at the offices. He was sent to train the troops in the north, and then he fought as well together with the Hmong tribes in Laos against Vietnam. At the end of the war, he managed to bring back to safety all the tribes, at least 3,000 people. He managed to just grant them safety, and then he was sent back to America. This guy, yes, he was fighting the war, but then he went a little bit over the edge. So his methods were not very orthodox. In fact, it was said that it was believed that he was cutting his enemies' ears or heads, and then throw them in the enemy's camps just to put fear into his enemies. As well, though, he was very generous with the locals. In fact, they thought him to be like a god, because he could make rice rain, or he could make rain fire. So it all depended, you know, if people were good or bad. And like we can see here, there is a picture of Tony Po with a kind of a, you know, when he's flying the Thai way. Once again, on this side we display also other posters and pictures about the Vietnam War. This is another famous American movie, The Deer Hunter, where now that we are in Patpong, people probably know there's a famous scene of the Russian roulette, when these 2 American soldiers were captured and they were forced to play Russian roulette. This scene was shot in the Mississippi Queen Bar, which is now Goldfinger. We can move, let's say, I'm going to explain, as you can see, there's also a big model of Patpong 1 and Patpong 2 here, as it is today. So, took us a little bit longer than expected to get the people to build it all up, because they had to do it inside here. Because anyway, Patpong, they come from Chinese origins, right? And according to ancient traditional Chinese mapping, every city has got basically the dragon going through the main city when they design the map, whether it's the head, the body and the tail. Well, here in Bangkok, the tail coincides with the river, then the body is Chinatown, Jawara, and the head instead coincides with Patpong. The head of the dragon, meaning that that's the area where it probably is supposed to be more prosperous or better to have best luck. And so they've been trying to buy this land off them, of the family, even offering a lot of money that they could be rich for generations, but they never accepted. Once again, we can move around, and I'm going to show you the different sections. See, we move, this big room is actually a mixture of history. Then we got also the famous people coming to Patpong or in these years. Westerners, David Bowie is as famous as Michael Jackson, so it's a big figure or character of the music industry. He's one of the legends. So, well, in 1983, he came around, went around the world to do his tour, and he went to Asia. And he wanted to come and do also a date here in Thailand, but his cachet was about $1 million, and Thailand has never seen famous singer coming to perform here, and they never paid more than $50,000 to $100,000. So basically, he really wanted to do this. They found an arrangement, so he came to play here in Thailand. We don't know how much for, but we don't think he would have probably agreed on probably they agreed to let him sing for $250,000, which was very low anyway. It was one-fourth of his cachet anyway. He did make his concert here, but also by the time, during the time he was, during the few days he was here in Bangkok, he went out, and as you can see here in this video, he did like Patpong so much because already even in the 80s, Patpong was the center. Sukhumvit was not that famous, so Patpong was the center also of nightlife. It had already become the center of nightlife as well, apart from offices and a business center. And he did film a music video on itself, as you can see here, in the Superstar bar here in Patpong 1. So this is kind of peculiar because people around the world that can see this music video, they wouldn't know as this one is Patpong, and it's a Superstar go-go bar in Patpong. The music video Ricochet, that was the name of that is the name of the song. This we try to make it a little bit interesting and not boring. I mean, usually when people go to museum, they say, oh, I have to go to the museum, listen to all the history. Some people, of course, are interested. Some people maybe are interested in some parts, and some others they're not. We make it a little bit interactive. So we created this, we call it the Wall of Fame, which shows silhouettes of characters. Most of them are stars, famous people. A couple of them are just famous people in Patpong, and I will show you what kind. And we can use this tablet, and as soon as it comes out, when you point it to the screen, the silhouette, then there is the famous person coming out, and there is a story underneath. Steven Tyler, singer of Aerosmith, and then you know, used to come. He had a few nights out here in Patpong. Here's Patpong Soy 2. People can actually just use it, point and Hugh Grant. And as well, he, being English, you know, just very prone to drinking a lot, so he came to Bangkok. He was in Bangkok while he was filming the Bridget Jones Diary, and then he went out, of course, for a night out, and then he ended up in Soy Cowboy, but people recognized him, so they were just chasing him and all ask autographs. So he disappeared from Cowboy, left also his bodyguard, and ended up here in around Patpong. And he came to some of the bars here and he got completely wasted. I don't think it was something new, because I think he probably... for instance, I want to show you this one. There are some people, like this one. This is Kunchan. Kunchan is just the guy that goes around with all the amulets and then the Polaroid.
Photographer, yeah.
But he's been around for over 30 years, 30, 35 years. So we put some of these people and we just write down even for tourists because they might still see him. He's still around here anyway. Who is not here anymore, but maybe some of you might have seen her up until
the flower.
It was the old lady that was selling flowers. Who was selling flowers to the tourists, and
The short woman.
Yeah, she just passed away.
You don't quite a lot.
Yeah.
This is actually an interesting one, but usually she's very shy. She never comes out so easily. I'm just gonna wait and see. Here we go. Kendall Jenner. Probably you might have remembered in 2017 she came to shoot the Pepsi advertisement here, which was a little bit controversial here in Thailand. Here what it says, that she came actually out and upstairs. There's a bar called Black Pagoda. So she came out, she had a few drinks there, and she asked the management that she wanted to go to a ping pong show, see a ping pong show. So they brought her to see the ping pong show, and while she was watching the ping pong show, then the ping pong ball came out and then hit her on her head, and she got, here it says she got shocked, traumatized, but I would say a little bit more disgusted, you know, yes. Okay, all these are just silhouettes of famous people that have been here to Willem Dafoe. You probably know Willem Dafoe, one of the last famous movies was John Wick. But he was in Platoon. He also just shot many movies about Vietnam. Of course, this silhouette, everybody will probably guess it's David Bowie. And of course, there's an interaction in shows. Some of them are just, they got video as well. They can, like for instance, let me see. Okay, this is Marlon Brando that we spoke about. Robert De Niro. Okay, this is the one I was talking about, the other actor, Christopher Walken. And this is the famous scene of the movie of the Russian roulette. This was shot in the Mississippi Queen. Anyway, Rolling Stones magazines, speaking about Patpong. Patpong has already become famous. So let's say from the name of this person, just they started building up, they had offices, restaurants, but then where there are restaurants, especially most of the Farang at that time in the 70s, in the 80s, late 60s, 70s and 80s were here. The expats, the Farang living in Thailand were here. So of course this became also the nightlife. And these are articles like this Playboy, Rolling Stones, and how did Patpong become famous? Of course there were bars, even many years ago there were bars, and of course there were women trying to keep company to the soldiers. It's always been like this. It probably is the most ancient job ever. But it did start with this guy, Rick Menard. Rick Menard himself also fought in the Vietnam War. He got married and was the first one to be able to marry legally in Vietnam to a Vietnamese. Then after he got married, he moved to Thailand. If I remember well, he probably just started a company in Korat. And then from there, while he was coming here to Bangkok, of course he knew Udon Patpong. He had a meeting with him at the old office bar, which is also in Patpong Soi Tu, which is another old bar that's been here for many years. And with a shake of hand, they decided that the next day in Soi, in Patpong 1, where probably, I think it's where I don't know if Music Cafe, but no, after Music Cafe, I think it's probably in between here. Music Cafe, there is a pharmacy shop, so probably was this one. In this building, he opened up in 1969 the Grand Prix Bar. Grand Prix Bar, which originally was a sports bar. Sports bar opened where also many famous people were coming at that time, including even Muhammad Ali, Don King, actors also later, William Dafoe, and many famous people. And the thing was that one time, in the heat of the night, when people already were having drinks and fun, one girl that just started going up on a box, right, and start dancing. So you see people listening to music, this girl start dancing, takes clothes off, dancing only with a bikini, bra, and then the police comes in and tells him, hey, what are you doing? You don't have the license for entertainment. And say, this is not entertainment, this girl is dancing. Say, what? See, you don't have the license for dancing. 1 second, for dancing you need 2 people, right? So this girl is just listening to music and dancing on her own. What kind of license do I need? So that's how, in a way, basically, it all started. So they couldn't find anything to charge him. And in fact, there's no license for go-go. There's a license for entertainment, license for selling alcohol. And so this became the first go-go bar in Thailand, Bangkok, Asia, ever. And of course then all the other bars, they start following because they could see basically that they could exploit this kind of channel where they didn't need to pay any license. So, and they could increase the business. And that's all he started, like the go-go bar. Here there are some pictures. This one is actually a section that the owner of the museum dedicated. It's probably about him. It's been here over 20 years. It's the first bar 20 years ago that he opened. And also it talks about, there's this picture, big picture of this guy who used to be, let's say, the last mayor of Patpong. He was the guy who was probably controlling all the underground business all around here, because of course the Patpong family, they only just deal about the rent of their premises, so they couldn't be bothered about what was going on. And this guy, let's say, was the one that basically showed him around, and it was very unusual that a Farang, a foreigner, was taken into, let's say, the friendly wing of a Thai man, and he was explaining everything. That's how it all started, and that's how he was introduced also to Buddhism, and then of course living here for so long also to have some interest into Patpong, so that he accrued all this, trying to find all this information. It took him probably over 13 years. He had this idea to create this museum because he's part of his family owns a private museum in Austria, so he was already into the museum kind of business, and that's it. That's how the idea came out. Here, what we do, like I said, Rick Menard's bar was called the Grand Prix. We remade a sign. It was the same sign that was outside the Grand Prix bar in 1969, and we made a bar here because probably after, say, 30 minutes here of explanation, people might be wanted to have a break. And in fact, we bring customers in here. This is the original wheel. Grand Prix bar used to have basically a steering wheel on its door, so that you can actually open the door with this. And this is the original one that was bought in Las Vegas from a pawn shop or something. They managed to buy the original one. You go, you can come in here. Once again, things are just getting, we are setting up things, preparing, but it's not completed yet. Now, as work in progress, like this is not supposed to be like this, that is supposed to be all dark. And 1 second. What we're doing here, we try to show customers what a go-go bar was. You had the girl dancing. Of course, we don't show the real one because we try to make it even couple friendly and not make it so direct. So customers here, they pay the ticket, they get 1 coupon, and they can stop here, have a drink. Of course, there's lovely music. We got a piano, probably planning in the future even to do bands, so with people come and playing the piano. And all these pictures, actually this is important to know because these are the original pictures of some of the original pictures of the Grand Prix bar. And here they are very famous at that time. They are famous here as Don King, Muhammad Ali, Gregory Hines, William Defoe, all together with Rick Menard. And this is his picture while he was going to war there, his station. And we also show, of course, was famous for the bars, but he was also another person that was helping the community. In fact, he donated 300,000 baht to the kids in Klontoy. This was how it became the go-go bar. So on the counter they started putting poles, and then the girls could actually hold in there. Inside, the Grand Prix bar looked more like a diner, so with the seats coming out. That's a sign. Once again, for all the bars, the go-go bars. And so, of course, people who come to Patpong, they need to know also about this. And that's what we're showing. Please, of course, in a moderate way. Starting from this side. And once again, some of the items they got, you can scan the QR and you can see the magazines. So there are some famous business cards of famous bars. Now, this is another interactive item. We still don't have the actual board to play. Would you like to play? How? Okay, just you can leave your bag and phone here. You can stand here and try to catch the ball. It's a ping pong show, so it's probably going to be lower than that. And of course, I'm going to make it a little bit softer so that people can carry the... Okay. Okay. Entertain, make a fun part of the ping pong show, and of course, people can have an idea that they want to have a look at the way ping pong show. This is in fact some drawings of a ping pong show by a local artist. Articles about Patpong, and this is, in fact, we got some pictures taken by a famous photographer, director, Michael Blogger. He did take a documentary here. We show, in a way, that it's got a filter so people cannot see, you know, no more. Like we can see roughly or have an idea what a ping pong show is. And then of course we show signs and bars that have been here for many years, say like Black Pagoda, so now over probably 12, 13 Here's an environment basically is on the bridge. Then they got dancer. All these pictures are taken by, as I said, Michael Glowwalker, who also shot a documentary called Horse Glory, which is a documentary set up in 3 countries, Bangladesh, Mexico and Thailand. And it's the beginning scene of the documentary, the beginning part of the documentary is about Thailand. So you can see it starts with a shot sits inside the Black Pagoda bar, the one on the bridge. This documentary won an award at the Festival of Venice. So it got a very important award. This was 2011. And as you can see, they show what they do in the film, but there is a filter. You don't see the real act, so at least it doesn't disturb me that much because for me, for instance, as I said, if I see somebody doing this, it's not interesting. I don't think about sex. Actually, I'm gonna just stop thinking about it because it's not sexual. But for some other people, it's interesting. Of course, tourists want to see that. We do show bars with girls, but also the reality is that in Patpong we have also ladyboy bars, and of course King Castle. You might know this person here because he's famous now. He used to stay at the King Castle. He's, as you can see in the label, I don't remember the name. Parignano, Charampolo. So she became, because she was also a Muay Thai boxer, so she's a model, Muay Thai boxer and actress. And once again, we will probably have to adapt a section dedicated to the gay nightlife, because now in Patpong too we have also like the bars that moved from the boys side down to here. At the end of the day, we are showing the reality, we are showing the people what we have in Patpong now. But we're also showing, like the first part of the tour, like the history, how it all started. So, and here this one is also interactive, just for people to play games, so you can actually guess if this was
man or
a
woman.
boy, yeah, and then you will lift the lid.
Huh?
Try one.
Man.
Okay.
Okay.
What about this?
I don't know, not sure.
That's the problem.
Yeah, right.
ดูไม่ออกเลยเนาะดู
I think it's a man. Yeah.
Okay.
ที่ผู้หญิงแน่เลยอ่ะ
It's a problem at night.
ใช่น่ากลัวผู้หญิงนะ
What about this?
That's a woman, I think.
Okay, I think you are prepared.
Ah, right, okay. I'm
ผู้
safe.
หญิงเลย
Me,อันนี้ผู้หญิงนะ
มีอันนี้ผู้หญิงอ๋อ
Okay, girl.
โอเค
Last one. If you get this, you win the prize of.
ผู้ชาย
It's a girl.
อ๋อ
Yeah.
โอ้ปีเตอร์ good sense
My
Sixth
education in Patpong.
This section is also dedicated to the fetish club. There's a fetish bar here in Patpong. Here, just keep walking through to Patpong Soi 2. And it's called Bar Bar. We are also planning to have, we did have a VR, so we're gonna get customers to wear VR so they can have a walk,
Right.
virtual walk inside. Of course, we put this cage here because already many people are coming here and they take selfies. You know, tourists, they love that. Also, by the end of next week, in that corner is going to be like a go-go bar called, so
right.
that people can also just
Yeah.
try and have that. And this is still all art, of course. Local and international artists, the theme is sex, drugs, and no easy way out. So more or less, this is the museum. Vendor machine doesn't sell drinks, sells some kind of a sexy lingerie.